Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. It is that time. The T20 World Cup is done. England are crowned champions. DJ, I guess congratulations to you for being the closest thing to England on this show. How does it feel? Are you in London right now? You're back? I don't know. I can't keep track of where you've been these few weeks.
Yeah, I don't know why you congratulated me because I'm obviously a Team India fan and
Yeah,
I
but you're
have
closer to England
strong
than Varun or
feelings
I.
about Team England. As everyone who's watched us cover the Test matches would know. But yeah, I mean, I think the best team won, right? To be totally honest, congratulations to Ireland for beating the reigning T20 World Cup champions. Uh, but disappointing campaign yet again for India fans. So yeah, still a bit disappointed from Thursday's game, but we'll come to that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to cover. It's kind of this weird. Varun, let me just ask you before we get into any of the specifics. It feels like we had maybe one of the better, more competitive group stages that I can remember, including the impact of rain and then Zimbabwe beating Pakistan and Ireland beating England and all. And then it kind of felt like the semis were so one-sided, and then the final maybe got a little better. I, to be honest, didn't even watch the final. I didn't have the heart after India's ridiculous. I will watch it at some point. I'll be a good cricket fan and watch the highlights of the replay. But yeah, was it a disappointing finish to a great tournament?
No, I don't think so. I was the only one of the three who watched it, and I thought it was a great game. Like, Pakistan started slowly, and we'll get into it. But overall, I thought it was a great final. It was always England's game, but Pakistan just showed that you don't give up, man. They went every ball, and there was a stage where in the 13th over or something, I think they had bowled 41 dot balls, 13th or 14th over. 41 dot balls is just insane. So, really good game of cricket, but Pakistan were always short.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the final. We are an Indian cricket podcast. You guys know that. We're going to spend most of our time talking about, unfortunately, the semi-final that was the heartbreak for us all, and a little bit about more. Where does Team India go from here? DJ, let's start with this final a little bit, though. Let me ask you about Pakistan's batting, right? 137. Melbourne's obviously a huge ground. Like I said, openly admit I didn't watch it because it's at 2 a.m. my time, and only India games were worth the 2 a.m. wake up for me. But yeah, what was it like? It looked like it was just hard to bat. It looked like they couldn't really get bat on ball and make it 137. I mean, you sit here and India is going to criticize our top order for batting a run of ball, but you have Rizwan who batted 15 of 14, Babar 32 of 28, and Mohammad Haris 8 of 12. Babar ends the tournament with a strike rate below 100, right? Like, how tough was it for Pakistan out there today?
Below
Yes, sir.
Kohli's average.
A
Kohli's average,
strike
I think,
rate
was
below
98.
Kohli's average. So what is Babar and
Babar's,
Kohli's combined Basra, Varun?
I don't know. I don't know what their Basra is, but it doesn't speak well for Babar. Babar's Basra. That could be a name of a PSL team, but yeah.
Hashtag Babar's Basra.
Hashtag Babar's Batra. No, Varun, I did watch the final. I just didn't watch the end of it because it seemed like a pretty much a foregone conclusion. So talking about Pakistan's batting, I saw a great tweet by someone. Someone sent it to me. Who said it said बेकार में partition किया cricket batting तो वही दोनों करते हैं. It's basically saying KL Rahul and Rizwan were the same, and
I mean,
Babar
it's
and
an
Rohit
interesting
were the
insight.
same. It was an interesting take on stuff, right? Because they didn't really seem to get away, really, and they lost the toss and they were put into bat, and you saw what England did in the last game, right? And they needed to go a bit quicker than that, and they did. They didn't really. They scored at 6 runs and over or so in the power play. And they didn't get that finishing kick. So I mean, 140 is below par. The guy who was trying to show intense, Haris, he didn't really get bat on ball. Adil Rashid bowled pretty well. Um, so England just kept it tight. They did what they did to the Indian batting lineup as well. They didn't let Pakistan get away at any stage. Pitch had lots of bounce in it. So yeah, a really clinical kind of effort by England in the field. To be honest, it was pretty professional. Fielding was good. Yeah, they'd be happy chasing only 138, 39 to win.
Varun, is there anybody else in the world, and I'm going to start listing, I'm going to forget things, but with a resume like test captain, opens the bowling when two of your frontline quick bowlers are out, you open the bowling. And then in the must-win quarterfinal, didn't show up with the bat early on. Must-win quarterfinal makes 42. Final makes 52. Revenge for Carlos Brathwaite, potentially, if you will. I mean, we've joked before, and if I haven't even talked about his test match credentials and that match, and of course the 2021 World Cup. Uh, is there anybody else in the world like Ben Stokes? I'm running out of superlatives, honestly.
The 2019 ODI World Cup.
Sorry, I'm all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Stokes. I've said it before on the show. He's one of my favorite cricketers. Like, he just stands up when it's needed. There was a point where he dived and it was almost run out. I thought the ball is going to ricochet to the boundary, but yeah. But jokes apart, he was great, man. He just read the situation. I don't know if he has the T20 ability now to hit sixes like he may have been able to in the past, but he just reads the game. You're right. The Sri Lanka game, the final. He was just there. He guided the team to victory. Let's be honest, this team has basically been a Butler show right throughout. And Hales came good in one game. Their middle order, I can't remember anyone really standing out through the tournament. But Stokes, so kudos to him and well done.
Do we get to be excited about the fact that one of our India's claims to fame is that Stokes didn't score a run against us? That's pretty good. Right?
It's like Domino's. Domino's had this campaign that said free garlic bread with every wicket, every English wicket.
It was the cheapest campaign they've ever run.
Basically, just had this shitload of garlic bread and all that. Because nobody got the free garlic bread.
They should send the bill for that to Rohit Sharma and his boys. But anyway,
seriously, I mean, or he might finish.
If you'd said free vada pav, then he would have taken all 10.
Yeah, he would have taken all 10 for sure.
For those of our listeners who've been listening every single week, this is clearly the difference between having all three of us on the show or just one or two, where it's hard for me as host to keep these other two guys in check. But yeah, we will talk a lot about who has to. Why did you have to comment about Rohit Sharma eating vada pav? Anyway,
We were talking about garlic bread, so vada pav is the natural progression from there.
I'm not sure I totally agree with that, but that's for some of our friends who run food podcasts for another day. DJ, it doesn't sound like you watched Rob. Let's quickly talk about this chase, right? First off, Sam Curran, 3 for 12, player of the match, player of the tournament. Just has this unbelievable ability to show up, I think, right? Like Ben Stokes to be honest, to show up. And India arguably did a little bit of damage to Sam Curran ahead of the IPL auction. And then, of course, he's re-earned it back. And I think he's going to make some big bucks. But yeah, I mean, you can sit there and say, Pakistan ended up making 137, which not nearly enough. And yet their bowlers kept them alive, like Varun said. And India's bowlers didn't keep us alive, right? Like, how good were Shaheen and Haris and, yeah, I guess it was mostly those two and Shadab. But how good was Pakistan's bowling to at least get it down to the last 7 or 8 balls of the match?
Yeah, it's, I mean, pretty impressive, right? I saw the Shaheen bowled of Hales, which reminded me a little bit of the KL Rahul dismissal from last year's World Cup. I'm pretty sure it was a similar ball seaming back in that took middle stump for KL. I mean, they fought hard. The truth of the matter is they just didn't have enough runs on the board. They ran into Ben Stokes, who, honestly speaking, if Johnny Bairstow and Jofra Archer had been fit, probably wouldn't have played this tournament, or they would have to do some. They'd have to do some stuff to fit him in instead of a Harry Brooks or a Phil Salt or someone like that. You have to remember, England have won this tournament without Jofra and without Johnny Bairstow, which is, if you think about it,
and Reece Topley and Mark Wood for the second half of it. Like, these are all
and David Malan, who used to be the
Yeah.
number one batter in the world. So that's just showed you. Okay, we should probably talk a little bit about this. England are the best white ball team in the world. There is no doubt about that. But I was watching a documentary yesterday about how they won the 2019 World Cup. It was just yesterday, and they were all talking about how in 2015 they did a reset. They kicked out all the old guys. They brought Owen Morgan. Owen Morgan was captain in 2015, but they kept him on. They brought the guys in. They changed their approach to T20 cricket. They were runners up in 2016, the Carlos Brathwaite year. They played pretty well in the 2019 World Cup to tie it and lift the cup. Right? They changed the entire approach to batting, hitting sixes. They played very well last year in the 2021 World Cup to get to the semis, and then they ran into a marauding who was an Australian player, right? Matthew Wade, I think. Or Matthew Wade put Pakistan out. New Zealand beat them. And then this year they had all these players missing, but have kind of cantered home. So they are the best white ball team in the world. And as I said, I think the best team has won.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and we can talk a lot about it. But I don't think anybody sits here and say undeserving winners. I think you can sit and say there was a little bit of luck. I mean, they didn't have to face Australia at home, and if they had lost that match to Australia, they may not have had enough points to qualify. There's a lot of different ways this could have gone. Varun, this is my way of transitioning to talk about India a little. But talk to me a little bit about Owen Morgan, right? He made the decision, even though he's still, and I'm just trying to look it up, as he's still 36, right? A lot of players are still playing, but he made the decision to retire specifically um, with the goal of passing it on to the next generation and creating, kind of the path forward, especially in T20 cricket. How critical is that? And is that something that other nations, and we'll come to talk about India, but is that something we're missing, that a leader knows when it's time to hang up the boots just to make way for the next gen?
Yeah, you won't believe when England won. I was just thinking about this. Like Morgan could have been a part of this side
He
and
was
could have
captain of the
won.
2021 World Cup. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
he could have had two World Cups in his tenure as captain and both formats, and it would have been a great way to sign off. But yeah, I think maturity on his part to let it go probably ahead of schedule when nobody was expecting it or nobody was really asking him to give it up. I think he also let's not forget he also went through a horrible patch, right, of form where he was just not contributing, and I think there were times he was coming out and saying everyone's done well except me, and or
He
maybe that
made
was Finch, but
one half century and 65 innings across all forms of cricket before he retired.
one
So
half
so
century
yeah,
and 65 innings.
innings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's very telling, right? Imagine going home every day after a match and feeling that you're not contributing. And I think it's yeah, it just comes down to great maturity, self-awareness, knowing that they're the best white ball team. He's probably taking up a space, knowing that somebody like Butler is ready. Yeah, it's fantastic, and you're right. It's something that our guys don't do. We're going to deep. I think probably today we're going to deep dive a lot into what has gone wrong, what's going to go into the future of Indian cricket for T20s. But yeah, kudos to England, man.
Yeah, well said. Congratulations, Team England. Congratulations, Josh Butler as skipper, Ben Stokes, and Sam Curran for player of the tournament. We'll take a really quick break, guys. We will come back and spend the rest of the show talking about Team India. So for those faint of heart, this may not be for you because we're going to start digging into some deep wounds. But stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. DJ, let's quickly talk about that semi-final. And I say quickly only because it's so painful that I really don't want to have to relive it, but I'd rather talk about India's tournament as a whole and kind of opportunities from here on. But Adelaide, 168 for 6 against a very solid Team England batting lineup. But more importantly, despite that, I mean, we were 60 something for 2 after the first 10 overs. At one point, it looked like maybe 120. Short of some Hardik Pandya heroics at the end, it wouldn't have even gotten close to 168. So never enough runs on the board, right?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this last week as well when we talked about the openers, and you can't bat at a run a ball and then not go on and score a big one. And I mean, KL stuck around for 5, 6 balls. He started off with the boundary, so maybe we thought it'd be different. And Rohit just didn't get going. Kohli scored 50 or 40. Other than Pandya, I mean, no one really had any fireworks. And you're not going to. What has really annoyed me about that, and I think it's not the bowlers that should be blamed. And it's what's really annoyed me is what Rohit's statement was, that the bowlers didn't show up. No, the batsmen did not show up. The batters did not show up, and they haven't shown up. And we talked about this last week. You can't. The approach was all intent, 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 intent. You played with that intent in one series or two series, and you won those series. You beat England at home with that intent of hitting every ball. Where did that go? What happened to that? And so you one day you say we're going to go out and we're going to play winter. We don't care whether we lose all 5 wickets or all 10 wickets. The next day you're scoring 60 for 2 in 10 overs. I mean, those two. It's just I don't know. It's that's what's appalled me. And then coming out trying to blame the bowlers, that's ridiculous. We had a poor moments in the field with Shami throwing it over Bhuvi's head and all, but by that time it was comedy value, right? That is not why you lost that game. You lost this game to a marauding opening partnership, which you've seen Litton and Shanto do to you as well. And you have the biggest league in the world, and you can't find two players that can score at 150 in the power play. We have the lowest power play run rate in the Super 12 stage. Let that sink in for a second. Or
It's
maybe there's one team
pathetic.
that's below us or something.
No, I
It's
think we are the
four
lowest. I
point.
think
It's
4.98.
yeah. It
It's less
drives
than
me
5 runs and over.
insane in the
Yeah,
power play.
DJ sent it to us on our group. It's absolutely pathetic.
So, I mean, obviously, Varun, we're going to talk a little bit about the gaps, right? One is very clearly top two, top three strike rate, and we'll come and we'll talk a little bit about Kohli. But of course, there's an opportunity to start quicker. Can I ask you about some tactical questions? Like, did you feel like in our first innings we left anything to be desired from a captaincy, from a strategy standpoint? And the two things I'm specifically mentioning: one, you played DK for the better part of a whole year. This is the end of his career. You knew that, right? You didn't bring DK as a future investment. You brought him to Australia to be a finisher. And in an innings like this where we needed a finisher, you didn't have him. You played Pant in that role. Pant is not as good a natural finisher. And then Adil Rashid and Liam Livingstone collectively bowled 7 overs for 41 runs. Like, you've brought in a lefty who can play higher up in with short square boundaries and two leg spinners, and you didn't send him. I don't think Pant walked in till their spells were basically done. So, like, that's not just performance. That seems like a pretty simple, clear tactical outage, right?
Yeah, I thought Rohit's captaincy was atrocious, by the way. Not just in this game, but throughout the tournament. Uh, he just keeps standing there on the field at the end with his hand on his head and looking upset and irritated and angry. When they're batting, he's just kind of standing around looking from the dugout, not really knowing what's going on. You're right. Why did you firstly drop Dinesh Karthik? Then why did you pick Rishabh Pant in the middle of this? Why did you play him so low down the order? Nothing makes any sense, right? It's just baffling to me. I don't understand what is this. And I can see a question or a comment on YouTube Live, which is like KL Rahul is anti Ben Stokes. In every important match, he looks out of place. Yeah, it's true, man. He's just there for that. I don't know whether I think it's orange cap. He's just there for the orange cap. There's nothing else he's good for. And even in that, don't forget, he cannot win you a tournament. He only wins that bloody orange cap. I saw an interesting stat that said since the IPL has started, we haven't won a T20 trophy. Right?
Since the
So,
creation of the IPL, India has not won a T20 trophy. Wow.
yeah. So just
Best
think
league in the
about
world
that.
and all that.
We have a lot of Paytm T20 trophies, though.
We do have
Yeah,
a
a
lot.
lot.
Now
All-
Mastercard
all the Paytm.
T20.
Yeah, a lot. By the way, I wanted to ask you guys as we go on this, is this India's worst ever year in the last 20 years? DJ, I'm gonna ask you that. Because
Worst
we
ever year in
lost
terms
of cricket, Indian cricket. We lost a South Africa series.
we
We
lost a
lost
captain
the
after that.
we changed captains. We've had 7 captains this year. We we lost
Did
the
you say
one-off test in
7?
England. Yeah, I think we've had 7 captains.
Oh, I guess, yeah, when you include Shikhar and
Yeah.
yeah. Wow.
So we've lost the one-off test series.
No.
We lost
So,
the Asia
yeah,
Cup.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
lost the whatever this T20 World Cup. Is this the worst year that you can remember? And
No.
is
Actually, it's not. It's not. I think the worst year I can remember is 2011, after the World Cup.
yeah, but
After the World Cup,
But that's the
that's
best year
we,
we've like.
we,
That's
we
such a
but we
strange
lost. But
that's
we
like
lost.
the
We lost.
over-smart answer.
We lost 8-0. 4 Test matches in England, followed by 4 Test matches in Australia,
Yeah, but
and
we
then
also won
we
the World Cup in
and
2011. That's like saying in
yeah.
83 was our second worst year because we lost everything else. But
No, but I mean, like
anyway,
that phase. I
you've
think
taken the
the
mojo away from
2011,
the question.
2012, the 12 months in 2011, 2012 after the World Cup was the worst year, because you lost to England as well at home. So that was just horrific. Those 12 months is what I meant. Obviously, the World Cup win was amazing, but after that, everything went to
Okay.
shit.
So DJ is saying basically May 20. No, yeah, April
2011.
3rd, 2011 to April 2nd, 2012 was our worst 12
Yeah,
months.
yeah,
But
pretty
he didn't
bad.
answer my question of calendar year. But anyway, I should back to you.
Yeah, no, Varun, let me get to what I think you're getting to is it's the Rahul Dravid era, unfortunately, right? And it's very
Yeah.
difficult to deal with, by the way. As people who watch soccer have seen players like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for me as a Manchester United fan, legend as a player, still will always be, but didn't quite necessarily cut it as a coach. We haven't quite had that in cricket. And now you sit here and say Dravid, who we idolize and still should, to be honest,
Who's
idolize
never
him as
won
a
a
player.
trophy himself.
Yeah, never won a trophy himself, and but arguably, you can't question his playing chops. But being a great player does not make you a great coach, right? Is
But
this
being
is some?
second fiddle, right? He was a second fiddle great player. There are no points for second place in this.
Yeah,
I mean,
Every
I
time he played a great innings,
even
Lakshman
when he
was
hit one,
281.
yeah, even
Yeah.
in a Taunton match, I can't
Ganguly,
remember.
yeah,
But
183. Ganguly got
yeah,
183. He got 140. Second fiddle.
yeah, yeah.
Other than Adelaide, one test match that you really remember him and Rawalpindi as well. But anyway,
Anyway,
sorry.
we're going on a little bit of a tangent. Obviously, didn't show up. Not a good enough match. Not a good enough tournament. I think DJ. Aside from nitpicking the years and stuff, you could look back at this tournament and say, "Hey, we went to semifinal and had one bad day," which has kind of been our line for the last 6, 7 ICC tournaments. Or you can look at it and say, "We almost lost to Pakistan. We got saved by some heroics from Kohli and untimely no ball and a phenomenal leave off of a wide from Ashwin and all those things." Then we just kind of we sort of scraped through a little bit and then got killed in the semi. So is this that 2015 moment, a 2015 England moment for Team India? Right? We said it before. I think we have all said for the last 2 years at least that okay, we're still going to have the same top three. What needs to happen from here, DJ, for you?
They need to go back to the drawing board, right? There is no question about that. This is finished. Like you put it rightly. We had heroics from Kohli that got us through
It
against
was a
Pakistan, right?
freak innings. You were
It was
there. It
phenomenal. It was
was
insane.
it was a freak innings. Okay,
Yeah. And
that
honestly,
match
like
was not ours.
the moment like
If
India
Shaheen hadn't gone
lost,
running into the
yeah.
wickets.
That,
Yeah,
but the
every
moment,
little thing went our way. You're
yeah.
absolutely right. Right, the wide,
And
the Shahid running in
yeah.
after getting bowled, like
The no
everything.
ball, all of that stuff. But like,
Yeah.
the moment India lost to England, I was sad, obviously, but my thought was, I'm kind of glad that my experience India Pakistan in the MCG isn't going to be stolen by people actually watching the final. So that was my silver lining, right? But honestly, let's go back. Bangladesh, we were down and out. We scraped past them by the skin of our teeth,
Yeah, rain
right?
timing of rain helped
Yeah,
us a little
yeah.
bit, and all those
Needed all
things.
of
Yeah,
that. We Zimbabwe, we played well. I mean, but we had Sky playing that freak innings, right?
We
Again, Sky
basically
is a
beat
silver lining.
we basically beat Zimbabwe and Netherlands.
Netherlands. Don't
Yeah.
forget Netherlands,
I
guys.
mean, let's not do that down. Pakistan didn't manage to even do the Zimbabwe game, and South Africa lost to the Netherlands. So okay,
Yeah, but
Yeah, I was going
well
to
Pakistan
say,
done to
by the
those
way,
guys for
we're
winning.
not a Pakistan cricket podcast. You can have the same post-mortem for them to an extent. You can say they got close but weren't able to
Yeah,
get over the line, and then
yeah,
lost to Zimbabwe. And like so, anyway, we keep going.
yeah. But and now this is where you reset. You're done. You've had your two World Cups in a row. You haven't won them either, right? You've got an ODI World Cup coming up next year. Rohit and Kohli should play that. I don't know whether Kohli retires because Kohli is in a great vein of form. Maybe Kohli bats one step up, opens the batting. His best runs, his best innings have come at the top of the order. KL, I think is the end of the line for him. It should be the end of the line for him. I can't believe he's our vice captain. He needs to just go back and okay, play ODI cricket. His tempo is fine for ODI cricket. Rohit, what are we going to do with him? He's a great test player. He's a great ODI player. The whole 5 times I've won the IPL with Mumbai, you have Bumrah and Malinga bowling for you, or you had Trent Bolt or Mitchell Johnson. You had Pollard, the two Pandyas. You've Ishan Kishan. You've got super
Sky.
teams. Sky. Now you've got
And
Sky.
Sky
Yeah.
Bumrah. Jeez, yeah.
Quinton de Kock opening the batting with you. I mean, you can't transpose
You
Mumbai
basically have
Indians
Sky
into
Bumrah
Team
Hardik.
India.
Yeah, you have Sky Bumrah Hardik, and then all the best international players in addition
Yeah.
to them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We need to clear this out. We need to get people who play T20 cricket the way it's meant to be played. You need to go hard at it from ball one. You picked it, Ashwin. You picked the guy who scored the runs against her. You picked Alex Hales. He smashed it. He absolutely smashed it. And we can't be in this myopic, oh, he scored runs in the IPL, he must be good. There's the PSL, which we don't play. There's the BBL, which we don't play. England's got the T20 blast. You've got the 100, which we don't play. We don't play any of the other leagues, so we have no idea. We say, okay, we are the best T20 league in the world. Yeah, we're great for people coming in to play for us and developing local players. But we don't get the opportunity. Alex Hales has been the highest scorer in the BBL, I think, for 2 years consecutively. He knows
Yeah.
those conditions. You can't expect a Kohli to turn up at the MCG and turn it on like that. Everybody else has struggled. So we need to go back to the drawing board, clear this out, get the Samsons in, the Kishans in. I don't know. You can't not have two explosive batters in the whole of India, right?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely exist. Varun, I'm going to come to you and we're going to, by both of you guys, and I have mine thought through, but kind of what would your 11 be if you had to pick it, call it today to start afresh? But Varun, I just want to ask you quickly about Virat Kohli, right? There's both schools of thought, and no secret, we are all fans of him on the show. He was the highest run scorer in the tournament, 296 run, average 98.6, strike rate of 136.4. Not quite, not bad on its own, but not necessarily like Sky struck at 189, right? Like, how much does Virat Kohli take the fall for a loss like this? How do you think about the role? Like, you can afford one anchor in your team. Ben Stokes did that, but you can't afford three, right? So where are you at on Kohli in T20s?
I mean, Kohli takes the blame for everything, right? Like we lost last year and it was the captain's fault. We lost this year and it's Kohli could have scored at a strike rate of maybe 10 more. It's always Virat Kohli's fault, guys. Come on, everyone knows that.
England won with like 5 overs left. Kohli could have scored a double, his strike rate would have still lost. Because we had others going at less than run a ball. Sorry, this is just like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
I mean, Kohli
Interrupted.
was look. I think Kohli has that technique. Kohli has the temperament. Kohli has the experience. So if you're asking for my 11, well, I've been thinking about this the last 2 days. I would
Yeah, let's do
play
it.
Ruturaj and Padikkal opening, right? I would play Kohli at 3, Sky 4, Pandya 5, Samson 6, Jaddu, Bishnoi, Bumrah, Ashdeep, and Harshal, right? To me, I think that is a nice balance today. Like, I'm not saying in 2024 because I don't know if a Kishan does better, if a Pant does better, if a Padikkal, but that's what I think right now is a nice combination.
I'm just going to, quickly go through that again. Ruturaj and Padikkal openings. You have a lefty. Kohli, Sky, Pandya,
Yeah.
Samson, and then Jadeja. So lefty again at 7. Bishnoi as your second spinner from Jadeja. Bumrah, Arshdeep, Harshal. Okay. DJ.
Yeah, because it's amazing that in this tournament, our weakest two links were the openers and the spinners. It was atrocious. Okay, we
I mean,
carried 6 deadweight in this
Yeah.
team. You had Rohit, Rahul, DK, Ashwin, Akshar, and Bhuvi. 6 out of 11 playing 11 who did nothing. Nothing.
Yeah,
Right.
interesting. Yeah. See, I will come back to where I am. I think I have a slightly different perspective. But Varun, last question, because I was asking you about Rohit and tactics. Why was Chahel in Australia? What was the point, the game plan?
Instagram.
Yeah,
If
the
you're
memes
Using
on
reels
Instagram.
with
if you're
Dhanashri.
in Adelaide, where England has seen something and picked both leggies and given both leggies almost a full spell, you have Liam Livingstone getting 3
Why was
overs.
Ashwin playing? I have no idea. He was just pitching the ball straight.
But did you
Like the
see how
ball was
far back
not
in his crease
even.
Joss Butler was?
That was
That
was one of the
Butler was like
moments.
behind the stumps.
That's why we didn't get a wicket, right? In that whole innings. I don't know. Akshar was pathetic, and Ashwin was doing God knows what with the ball. I don't know if he's trying to be economical in this chase or what. Both of them have done nothing. I think Chahel was a big miss. You've picked him from last year where he wasn't in the squad. But the best spinner we have is Bishnoi, and he's sitting at home in India right now. So I don't know. Openers and spinners, big problem.
Yeah, that's interesting. So DJ, I'll give you my slight tweak on Varun's 11 first. I don't have Ruturaj or Padikkal. I have my openers as Huda and Kishan. I think I continue to like Huda. He's done well when he's been given license, but when you've had him play in tough, like I think I think he can be good in the right setting. So I have Huda and Kishan, and no question on Virat at 3 still. I mean, for tomorrow, not for 2 years from now, but for tomorrow. No question on Sky. no question on Hardik and Jadeja. Where you have Samson at 6, I actually have Pant. But I would play around with that order a little so that you give 3 lefties in your top 7 for me. That gives you options. But again, you can change based on your bowling lineup, etc. I then have Bumrah, Harshal, Arshdeep, and then I just had Chahal instead of Bishnoi, but I can see either playing. Chahal is to me, one of the best white ball bowlers in the world still, and it's unbelievable that we had him on our bench in England. So that's where I'm at, DJ. I think 6 out of 6 or 7 guys in common. I think there's an argument to be made on, do you really even need Bumrah? Do you let him focus on red ball cricket? Not that, sorry. If he could stay completely healthy, he walks in. But if you're constantly seeing injury prone, you prioritize red. But DJ, what is your 11? Where does your stack up compared to
It's
both
interesting.
ours?
So I'm just what the one thing we mentioned actually, we talked about how bowlers win tournaments at the start of this tournament, and England have proved that wrong twice now with the 2019 World Cup and now with this World Cup, because their batters have won them the tournament. So I'm almost
Dude,
agnostic
but the
as to what your
semi,
bowlers do, because they'll win you an
but
odd game.
but the semi and finals, the bowlers did a great job. Like even Ben
They
Stokes
did.
came
They
off and
did.
said Karan and Rashid won us the game. You 60 for 2 is a bowler's thing, man, in 10 overs.
Yeah, but
They
170
bowled.
for none in like 15 overs is pretty good
Okay,
also.
that was like okay, that was a it was to me it was great. Yes, they did a great job, but I think they would have won either way, even if they were 80 for 0 or 80 for
Correct. So,
2, right?
but also for me, T20 is such a game where everybody's going to get hit at some point, right? Pakistan had the best bowling attack in this tournament, I think, maybe with South Africa. Like South Africa went out, choked, whatever, because their batting didn't bring it home when it needed to, right? Pakistan went to the finals. They were lucky to get there. So all that to be said, I wasn't picking on the comment that you made. I was trying to say that in T20 cricket, we probably need to focus more on our batting. So for me, Kohli opens the batting. That's where he's got all his runs. He doesn't bat 3 anymore. He opens the batting. Huda bats 3 for me. Give him that shot. That's why he got all his runs this year, right? With Kohli, I think Kishan or Pant, one of the two, open the batting, and they will take the gloves, right? So Kishan probably needs to get better with the gloves. So left hand, right hand opener, Huda batting 3, Sky bats 4, no question about that for me as well. Number 5 is a difficult one, right? Like I don't know who you guys have five, but for me, Samson would probably be a good fit at 5. He goes after the bowling constantly. Pandya 6, but Pandya needs to get out of his, like, I think Jared called him batting like a human mode. Pandya needs to go back into beast mode and just smash the ball, which he kind of did in that last game. And then comes Jadeja if he's fit. Um, if he's not fit, maybe a Venki Iyer or somebody who can hit the ball big. I don't know. There isn't a perfect replacement. We really miss Jadeja actually in this tournament because he brings that balance with the batting and the bowling that you can count on. But Jadeja at 7, and then Bumrah. Arshdeep was the find of the tournament, but he wasn't really the find of the tournament. He was the performer of the tournament for me, man. What a tournament that boy had. Brilliant. And then spinner, I think, Varun, I'm totally with you that we need to give Bishnoi a shot. It's either Bishnoi or Chahal. They're the two best in India at the moment. And does that leave one more? I think. Um,
Math is hard.
Bumrah, Arshdeep. I think there's one more left.
So
I don't know. Harshal, maybe.
Varun,
I
I'm going
don't
to
know
come to you with a
about the last
thought for
bowler.
2 reasons before we wrap up this show. One, that we got an interesting 11 in the comments, and there's a couple names we left. 2, the poster of this comment that, as you can see on the screen, is Kumar Sanu. I don't know if it's the Kumar Sanu. If the Kumar Sanu listens to Edges
That
and Sledges,
would
we would
blow
love to
my
hear from you.
mind. If it's
But if
the
it's
Kumar Sanu, please get in touch with me.
we would love to have you on. But
Bazigar go, Bazigar.
there's a
Pretty
lot.
much.
There's a lot of ups and downs. But the one I want to ask is Deepak Chahar. Is there a space for a guy who can bowl 2 or 3 overs in the power play and potentially bat at 7? I mean, we've definitely shown that he has the chops to bat at 8. But if you have the ability for him to come in early, do we need more of those kind of? Sorry, we're getting more comments in. Of course, it's the Kumar Sanu. But do we have space for a Chahar? Do we need more all rounders, or do we need more specialists? Or closing thoughts from
No,
you on the future?
no. I think Chahar is good, man. He's a swing bowler, especially overseas. He can tonk the ball. He's done that before. So yes, Chahar had to, like, we were asked 11 in the moment, and we've come up with our best 11 on the spot. People like Chahar have to be in the mix. Somebody like him, even I mean, Dhoni gets the best out of him, right? Both 3 overs up front and change the game with his swing.
Yeah.
So absolutely, we've named between us probably 14 players. There's another 10,
Yeah.
right? 25
Yeah.
is a list that we should be grooming.
Like Rahul Tripathi at the top of the
I was
order. He
just going
just
to say
goes for it.
Tripathi.
Yeah.
He would have been
But we
such a
refuse to
great
play
like
him.
number 3 if Kohli was opening, right?
Yeah, but Chahar is a great pick actually because he's the so Bumrah gets you something else, Arshdeep gets you something else, Chahar gets you something else. Beautiful. What a lovely lineup that is with Jadeja and one of the leggies completing that with Pandya bowling the six. It's a great lineup. That should be that's my 11.
So we
Nice.
we can debate this for a while. There's some time before in Team India has to settle into it. I think I'm going to wrap with this comment, which basically says somebody in the Ruben Loganathan says India can't win by playing three anchors, Rahul, Rohit, and Kohli. I think none of us had Rohit or Rahul in this tournament. Varun, is it a little harsh to be like we've previously said? Rohit is the India's biggest six hitter. He has done well with the before. Is it just harsh, or are we? Is it really? Honestly, he looks like he's let himself go physically a little. He had a horrendous tournament as skipper, and he's now a mainstay in the red ball team. So do we let him focus?
Yeah, 100%. He's a mainstay in the ODI team and the Test team. There's no doubt about that. One bad tournament, Kohli's had bad tournaments. We never said throw him out. But in T20, there's no space for him. And his captaincy was atrocious. So better to move on. I don't think there's any need. Like, I don't think there's much discussion around that. I can see, you know, Ruben has probably been listening to our show for 251 episodes where he said there can't be three anchors. That's pretty much where we've started off this podcast, and that's pretty much where we are today. So, unless somebody in Team India takes that call and makes a change, which, by the way, I think they will, because I think there was 2 World Cups in 2 years. You can't make a drastic change in at the end of one
Yeah.
and be ready for the next.
Yeah.
I think India has done a few things wrong, not everything wrong. They've done a few things wrong, but this is their chance to reset. And I think the selectors and everyone will come together and change the entire setup now.
Yeah, and we have enough of a squad and strength to put together three completely different independent squads with maybe one or two common marquee players. You don't need a Sky to play every game. You don't need a Kishan to be playing Test cricket. You don't need Shreyas Iyer hasn't even come up in this conversation,
Yeah.
and he's done well over the last few years. Shubman Gill hasn't come up in this conversation, but we need to figure out who can play what format. Gill is a perfect one-day player. Probably so is Shreyas Iyer. Groom him for the ODI World Cup in 2023. They will be great in those conditions. You need horses for courses. You've got enough talent at your disposal. Need to stop just backing the same players. And I'm a Rohit fan. I mean, I feel bad for the guy. As you said, he's done great job for the country. He's had a tough time this time, but it's that Owen Morgan thing. We need to be larger than India needs to see it. Indian players need to look beyond just themselves and do what is best for the team. And it will be best for the team if Rohit concentrates on the T20 World Cup and perhaps the World Test.
The ODI
I've
World
been
Cup.
saying T20 World Cup for so long because we've been prepping for it for so long. It's the ODI World Cup and the World Test Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Well said, Varun. We're 5 days, shockingly 5 days away from India playing T20s against New Zealand. Rahul Dravid gets a break, so VVS Lakshman will be coach. Which again, curious if they're just testing something out different. Rahul, Rohit, Kohli all get a break, and Hardik Pandya will be skipper. So is Hardik the future of Indian captaincy then?
Yeah, I think the split captaincy will be Hardik. DJ said it best. DJ, why don't you give us your line on Hardik Pandya's captaincy?
What did I say? I've
The
totally forgotten.
the
Yeah,
semi-final was
yeah. He was
the,
auditioning for the role in the
it was his
semi-final. Like
interview. The semi-final was Hardik Pandya's interview for captaincy.
it was like the final round interview, right? Like he's auditioning for it. It's like a corporate
He's
transition.
waited for shit
Yeah,
to hit the fan, and
and
then
he's
he
like
told you,
geeing
"I'll
up the
get you from
crowd.
110 to 170."
Yeah, he
Yeah, and
scores
I
the
think this
runs,
job
and
needs to
he's
be mine.
but it was perfect. He was just like everybody else is down, right? And so he's geeing up the crowd and like he knows the cameras on him. So it was like a perfect like corporate Game of Thrones type of takeover in that moment. I thought it was brilliant. Pandya seized his moment, man. He's the heir apparent, clearly. And Dravid, I don't know how he'll work with Pandya, because that'll be an interesting combination.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear it's Dravid's future is a little uncertain. I thought it was a little ironic to hear Shastri in the commentary box being fairly critical. It's like most of what is happening is your work. Like, he hasn't been a coach that long. But anyway, I can't honestly, guys, think of a better note to wrap us up on than Team India's current selection dilemmas, feeling like a corporate Game of Thrones, and Hardik Pandya interviewing on the field. It was, DJ, beautifully put. That was painful a little bit, but also a little bit cathartic to go through and think through where do we go from here. So thank you, boys, as always, for joining. It was nice to have all three of us on the show. If you are watching this on YouTube, hit the like button down there and the subscribe button. That helps us grow. If you're listening to us, as always, you can reach us at One Tip One Hand. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have a Discord that's very active. Join us anytime. I think we all need a little bit of a break from cricket, even though the players are back on the field in 4 or 5 days. But yeah, congratulations again to Team England. Hopefully this is the start of a resurgence for Team India in the T20 format. And as always, we'll be back to talk to you next week. Thank you for everybody for listening to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.